About a year ago, I was preparing to go and live in China. Back then, I was really keen to live in a city called Harbin, situated right in the middle of Chinese Siberia. I wanted to live there because it got stupidly cold. I mean like minus 20 degrees. And I thought I loved snow and cold. But about a year later, I found myself living in South Korea, in the province of South Chungcheong. Chungcheong. I'm not very good at Korean. South Chungcheong province is located on the central western coast of South Korea, and it's a highly rural and mountainous region with a population of roughly 2 million people. I can't tell you exactly which mountains surround my town because South Chungcheong province has a literally insane number of mountains everywhere, in every direction. Oh, you're wondering exactly how rural it is? Well, it's about an hour and a half away from the nearest McDonald's, so that should give you a pretty good idea. Fortunately for me, I've always tried to avoid two things: real-life social interaction and McDonald's. So for me, this is pretty much a dream come true. After having experienced a broken heating system and no warm water for a week, and outside temperatures of -5 to -10 degrees Celsius, I realized it's probably a pretty good thing that I didn't go somewhere even colder. Despite living in a very rural part of Korea, I've been lucky to meet quite a lot of Korean people online, some of which have actually become really good close friends, who I dare say may one day rival the legendary William, Matman Pat, or even Harry Bradley's jawline. In this video, I wanted to talk about some of my experiences of my first month in Korea since I arrived. I've always been interested in teaching ever since I was in school myself, but since I found out I couldn't be a history teacher in the UK due to my degree being in the wrong subject, I decided that living abroad as an English teacher was the next logical decision. And while it took me 2.5 years to get here thanks to the pandemic, I finally now actually arrived, and I've been here for about a month. I work in a private English academy, which is a business, rather than coming here on the EPIC program like many other people you're going to see on the internet. EPIC is a program designed by the Korean government to find native English speakers for state Korean schools. It's kind of like the JET program in Japan, but in Korea, and slightly less well known. Working in a Hagwon, you work as the actual teacher, so you have to plan your own classes, though perhaps they're less complex than they would be in a mainstream school. All of the students I teach are absolutely fantastic. I have a bunch of 7-year-olds that do like choreographed K-pop dances. I'm pretty sure one of them, at least one of them one day, is going to be like a professional K-pop dancer. Trying to get kids in the UK at the age of 7 to do anything that resembles cohesion, it's always going to be a bad story. I mean, they can't even line up neatly for an ice cream van. I have another student who I just get to read and write about Harry Potter with, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, if the idea of being paid just to read and write about Harry Potter doesn't excite you, I don't think anything will. Despite the early setbacks, huge cultural differences, and early problems like having no heating for a week or being told I wouldn't be allowed a bank account with a card, so I'd have to use cash for an entire year, and like go to the bank and pay them with a book and give them all the papers and go to the bank to pay your bills every month. God, it's... Or even worse, my significant lack of social skills from living on the rock in the middle of the ocean for 5 years with no job or social life. I have 2 best friends in Korea. Kevin, who I've been speaking to since the week I arrived, just so happened to live in the exact town I live in on the very same street, which is absolutely insane. This year I was fortunate enough to be invited by his parents to join them in celebrating the Lunar New Year, despite them not knowing any English and knowing that I can't speak a word of Korean. By the end of the night, Kevin's dad even said I can call him Korean Dad, which is awesome. The food was absolutely amazing. We had like pork, and they're sort of cooked in these strips, but they cut them into cubes because obviously in Korea everyone eats with chopsticks. And they did have a fork, and they gave me a fork because I couldn't use chopsticks at this point, which now I kind of can. It's kind of typical in Korean culture to have lots of side dishes, and if you go to like a restaurant, they also bring you loads of side dishes before the main food, which is really cool. We also had Korean ice cream, which was really good, though it makes me wonder if they have ice cream and it's chocolate flavored, but I don't think they make their own chocolate in Korea. I haven't found any native Korean chocolate brands, so where do they get the chocolate? They also gave me various gifts that I could take home and have at home, like fucking elbow. Oh, that's not a good day. And they even gave me a Korean beefsteak, like Wagyu Korean beef. If you know anything about getting meat in Korea, then you know that you would have to literally sacrificially offer up your oldest son in order to acquire it. I was so honoured by their gifts that I felt I had to give something back in return. So I reached into my bag and I pulled out my final complete bar of Cadbury chocolate and I offered it to Kevin's dad. He initially refused, but after I bowed my head lower, he actually accepted the second time. In Korean culture, people bow a lot, and the lower you bow, the more respectful it is. So I bowed very low. My other best friend in Korea, Kelly, lives near Seoul. She's extremely smart and she's always fun and quirky, even if she's really shy. She also speaks almost flawless English, albeit with a very strong American accent that Her Majesty the Queen might not necessarily approve of.
Okay, so literally tteokbokki is like the most common Korean food that you can find in the street.
And to be honest, it does suit her personality really well. So I wouldn't change her accent. I think it really suits her. She visits me every now and again and even helps with making my videos. In one of my upcoming videos where we visit the local market in town, Kelly is most likely going to help me make that video and maybe even present it with me. The market looks absolutely amazing. You can get vegetables, fruit, lots of seafood, sweets, you can get all sorts there, so I'm really looking forward to show that off for you guys, and it's really good value as well. Overall, I think I'm doing pretty well now, despite a really difficult start and kind of living like an Eskimo part-time, and over the next year, hopefully things are going to continue to improve. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more videos from the Korean countryside or about living in rural Korea from a British perspective. And thank you so much for watching, guys, and taking interest in my first month in Korea, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ah! Fucking elbow! Oh, that's not a good day.